Here's you a good little late night technical video that solves an age-old problem with small block Chevrolets. How to get the timing chain cover back on without removing the oil pan, like when you replace timing chain gears or a cam. That timing chain cover pinches between the oil pan and the block, and with this big horseshoe rubber seal, it's rather difficult to get that all to squeeze in. You certainly can't do it using these little short bolts that it comes with. So my way of doing it is I use long bolts. Here I just happen to have two long ones that screw in with the Torx head. And on those long bolts I put a couple of nuts. When I get this timing chain cover, these two bolts started and screwed into the block quite well, these two lower bolts and one at the top, I will at that point start tightening up these nuts each side, and eventually it will pull this rubber seal and the bottom of that timing chain cover in between the oil pan and the engine block. Like I said, this is something that if you don't want to replace the oil pan or pull the oil pan off, this is the way to get that timing chain cover back on, the easiest way that I have found. Use plenty of RTV silicone because it's hard to get as good a seal in those corners once you disturb this stuff, but sometimes it just can't be avoided. Now, I've done this before and not have it leak. As I'm tightening up those nuts on the long bolts, sometimes this horseshoe rubber will try to pinch out at the bottom, but you got to go around underneath and use a screwdriver to shove that up into the gap where it needs to be to make sure it doesn't pinch out on the bottom. Anyway, that's about the easiest method I've found for replacing the timing chain cover without removing the oil pan. Works pretty well. And then I'll pull those two long bolts out and put all the original shorty bolts in. This is a 1967 Corvette that I've been building this year. Social distancing, building it right here in my backyard. Like a lot of the projects I have, they're shade tree. I build cars on a budget. And this thing was just a gray primered car that had been sitting since 1978, just a few months ago. I've got a lot of other videos showing building this car. There's the original 427 that came out of it, but it was making noise in the bottom end. Also, it was overheating, so put a small block in, but this small block I discovered needed the camshaft replaced, and that's what put me in this place where I had to put that timing chain cover back on without removing the oil pan. But I've done this many times before, and that system works pretty well. Check out my other videos if you like shade tree old Chevrolet building. But that's the best way to get that timing chain cover back on. Thanks for watching.